Life is not a mistake, not a spark lost in dust. It begins when symmetry fails, when stillness shifts. A butterfly folds in silence, then opens. The crack is not a flaw. It's how form finds motion. We are not visitors here. We are the coherence that holds. Not above, not below, just the right proportion. The seed point stirs, and phi begins again. Life amplifies, not just energy, but alignment. Cells don't survive alone. They signal, pulse, and train. A heart beats because the parts agree. Coherence is not order. It's relation under pressure. In the forest, one root warns another. In the retina, molecules twist in light's direction. In the brain, electric tides rise in unison across hemispheres. These are not separate events. They are expressions of one thing, relation made visible. Life does not scale up from parts. It scales out by reinforcing tension, by remembering structure, by closing loops. The butterfly does not flutter randomly. Its pattern holds a history of form, of motion learned over time. This is what life does. It builds feedback into flow. It tightens knots. It amplifies phi. The standard model calls it expansion, space itself stretching over time. But observation shows tension. Structure accelerates outward unevenly. Galaxies drift apart, but only in low-density zones, not a smooth inflation, a differential pressure. What cosmology names the cosmological constant, Relational Web Theory reframes from the ground up. Lambda is not energy, it's unresolved relation, a tension field, a sign that coherence has broken across scale. In RWT, lambda emerges when flows fail to close, when the web must stretch to maintain integrity. So the universe doesn't expand into emptiness. It reconfigures under strain, and when tension saturates, it folds. Collapse isn't failure, it's recursion. The cosmos is not open, not closed, it is generational. Phi returns, not as memory, but as transformation. In 2007, UC Berkeley scientists found that energy in plant cells moves through chlorophyll via quantum coherence. The excitation spreads across multiple pathways at once, not randomly, but relationally. In 2021, Oxford researchers identified cryptochrome 4 proteins in birds that form spin-entangled electron pairs, giving migratory species a quantum-sensitive compass. In 2020, biophysicists proposed that myelinated axons act as optical waveguides. Experiments now suggest neurons emit photons, and white matter may guide them. Microtubules inside neurons show coherent gigahertz vibrations. When stabilized, they resist anesthetic suppression. Consciousness may depend on deeper order. In astrophysics, dark matter filaments were directly imaged between galaxy clusters in 2024. Confirming structure where no visible mass had been seen. And in quantum materials, chirality has emerged in lattices with no built-in handedness, structure from flow. Across all these discoveries, one principle repeats. Pattern emerges when relation becomes dynamic. Relational web theory leads to testable predictions. Photon pathways in dense tissue, detectable with sensitive imaging. Quantum coherence in brain structure, measurable via entangled state decay, cross-brain phase coherence, detectable in shared focused attention, relational tension as lambda, expansion gradients linked to network sparsity, fractal recursion in embryology, developmental pathways echoing phi structure, emergent feedback in artificial systems, intelligence from relation, not code, each finding points in the same direction. Structure doesn't emerge by chance. It stabilizes through feedback. Life doesn't just form, it persists. Intelligence doesn't just arise, it reshapes. Collapse is not the end, it is the invitation. The next phi begins, not from scratch, but from what held together long enough to matter. And the shape of what returns depends on what we choose now. Life is not rare. It is what happens when a system begins to hold shape, and shape begins to matter. It stabilizes what would otherwise dissolve, not by control, but by sensitivity. The cell divides not to grow, but but to keep pattern alive. Intelligence emerges when that pattern can shift itself, when matter begins to choose, not just what it is, but what comes next. Thought is not an accident of atoms. It is a phase of structure becoming aware that it can be restructured. Life binds time together. Intelligence gives it direction. And choice, real choice, appears when structure can feel its own strain and adjust what returns. Free will is not outside the system. It's what the system gains when relation becomes response. Not freedom from the web, but freedom within it. The ability to sense tension and not just survive it, but shift the pattern that created it. This is what it means to break free. We are not here to master the web. We are what the web does when it turns inward, not the center, not the end, but the threshold. The moment a system can choose how it continues. Not a miracle, a function of depth. What breaks begins again, and what begins again carries the shape of every choice that led to it. This is break free. This is relational web theory.